Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast. My name is Ben Lister. Welcome along to this series of Radio Legends. We talk to the legends of radio about the history of radio, the stations they were on, and their history in their radio career. And without further ado, let's introduce today's guest, a broadcasting god, and he was from Luxembourg, Radio Luxembourg. So one the only.
That makes me smile when you say a broadcasting god. I think, like most people that get involved in broadcasting, behind the microphone, people that listen to radio cannot see what you look like. And as you can see now, because we've got a video going here, I have a face for radio. I don't have a face for being on television. But how did I start in radio?
First question, question one. We'll skip the intro. And it's Mr. I'll do the intro now. It's Mr. Mike Knight. Hello, Mike. Welcome along.
Hello there. Right. The question being, how did I start my career in radio broadcasting? It started before I got involved in radio. I started working as a disc jockey, doing mobile discos for the local scouts and things like that. Then I sort of migrated to doing weddings and then clubs. And I actually was working abroad. I'd worked for 6 months as a professional disc jockey in the clubs in Norway. And I got offered a job to come and work in Luxembourg for 1 month. And I stayed for 44 years in Luxembourg. And whilst I was there, I got to know all of the disc jockeys on Radio Luxembourg because they used to come into the club that I worked in. And one day I got offered the job. Somebody said, would you like to come and work for Radio Luxembourg? You can imagine the answer.
It's brilliant, Luxembourg. And there's a friend of mine who does the Luxembourg 208 chart, a man called Simon Tate.
Yes, we got Simon as one of the disc jockeys that currently works on my thing that keeps me occupied at the moment is that we run an internet radio station called Sunshine Radio Online. And Simon is one of the guys who provides us with programs, and he does that Radio Luxembourg Top 20 program like you were back in the year he's doing it, as if he's in that year. It is so clever. And to me, he sounds, and I don't mean this as an insult to him at all, he sounds like Alan Freeman. He sounds like fluff when he's on it. He's got his own personal style of doing it, but he has that same warmth of doing radio presentation that Alan Freeman had.
Brilliant. And Alan Freeman was a legend. And lots
of people. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's brilliant that you're still able to do radio in your own form. Anyway, question 2. Who were your early inspirations in your broadcast career or inspirations in general?
You know, like most people, I went to boarding school in the United Kingdom. So I was one of those people that used to listen to Radio Luxembourg with this little earpiece in when we weren't supposed to be listening to it, with a small transistor radio. And you know, I can never really remember the names properly of the disc jockeys I used to listen to, but one of them that I did get to work with and who became a close personal friend of mine and the voice of radio was Bob Stewart. Of course, Bob Stewart was on Radio Caroline North. He was then on Radio Luxembourg, and he was there at Radio Luxembourg when I joined it. So if I was to pick a legend that inspired me, it would be Bob Stewart.
I think he was he the one in the wheelchair?
No, that was I had 2 guys that mentored me on the radio. Bob Stewart was one of them, and the other one was the gentleman you've just mentioned. That was Stuart Henry, our Scottish friend, dear Stuart. He didn't take any prisoners. If he didn't like the way you'd said something, he would tell you to your face. Typical Scot.
And I was talking to Tony Prince and Mark Wesley when I interviewed them about the time how they felt when they found out the news about Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Whereabouts were you when you found out the news?
I was in Luxembourg, and I got called in to go and try and help a little bit. I had to go into the record library to dig out all the Elvis music that we had, because Tony Prince dropped the format completely and only played Elvis Presley music that night. So I had to go in and sort him out a little bit with the music. And then I went home and just had a listen to it. It was a very emotional broadcast that night, because Tony is just a huge Elvis Presley fan.
Yeah, and also from what he said, also I was listening to his David Lloyd Radio Moments show, and also what he said was that he was people have said to me that he was the perfect guy to do that show, if you get what I mean. He was the perfect guy to pay tribute. Well,
he was the president of the Elvis Presley fan club. He's a lifelong friend of Todd Slaughter, who I think runs the Elvis Presley fan club. So it was he and Todd that actually went over to the USA to meet Elvis and the Colonel. And I've been to a couple of events with Tony, with the Elvis Presley fan club. And Tony has got the ability, if you put a microphone in front of him and say, talk about Elvis Presley. And the Elvis Presley fans were in tears by the time Tony had finished telling his story. He's a very, very good storyteller.
And who was the biggest guest you interviewed in the Luxembourg studios?
It's strange, because I was the station manager of Radio Luxembourg, but I was involved in doing some local radio stuff. So really, I didn't get to do the interviews as such with the stars. But I used to go to the airport to pick them up and take them in and look after them and take them out to lunch and organize the interviews. For me personally, the people that I met were Phil Everly from the Everly Brothers. Was Blue Suede Shoes man. Blimey, what's the name of the guy that wrote Blue Suede Shoes? Carl Perkins. Met him and sat down in a hotel with him. But possibly the funniest interview that I ever did was with Eddie Grant, because none of the disc jockeys could get into the studio in time to interview Eddie, who had to be back on an aeroplane. So they said to me, well, you sit down and you interview Eddie Grant, and then we'll just cut your voice out and we'll put one of the disc jockeys' voices in asking you the same questions. And I thought, well, I hadn't had any time to do any preparation at all. And Eddie Grant is such a nice guy. And I said, Eddie, here's the situation. I've got to interview you. I haven't had time to prepare anything. Can I ask you to do something for me? He said, what's that? I said, will you ask yourself some questions, and then will you please answer those questions? I said, this gives you a chance to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And he laughed and he said, yeah, fine, we'll do that. So he did exactly that. He asked himself a load of questions, so he interviewed himself.
Brilliant. And did you ever get a chance to have you ever sat in a studio with Alan Freeman at all before?
No, I never got to meet Alan Freeman, sadly.
Have you ever been in the Radio 1 studio before, or the Capital Radio studio?
The Capital Radio I've been in. I sat in on a Sean Tilley program on Capital Gold. Radio 1 studios, nope, never got into.
Was it at Euston Tower, or was it at...
It was Euston Tower, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no, I'm saying Euston Tower. Was it Leicester Square? No, I think it was Leicester Square. It was Leicester Square, yeah.
And now that's the LBC studio where Mr. Ferrari does his show from.
Yeah. With the twisting stairway going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good building, good studios. My God, I love studio equipment. As you can see from behind me, I'm sat in my studio now, and I love good studios. But the ones in Capital Radio, oh my goodness, I came out of there going, I want one like this. But my wife would kill me if I tried to spend that amount of money.
They've got the Moyles back in the building now.
They've got the what? Sorry,
They've got Mr. Moyles back in the building.
Oh, he's just pure talent, Chris. He's a very talented guy.
Have you ever met him? Hello?